Right, this is the notes for topic 4, applications. So what we're going to do here is we need to figure out what information we're given, what we need to interpret, how to use the information that we have. So in the first example, Mr. Kimball receives a $3,000 annual salary increase. So I'm going to underline that because it seems important. On the anniversary of his hiring, if he receives a satisfactory performance review. His starting salary was $41,250. Write an equation to show his salary at X years if he's always satisfactory. So I'm going to use slope-intercept form. I'm going to get y equals where y represents his salary. X represents the number of years. So if we have a $3,000 annual increase, that means that every year he gets $3,000 more. So I'm going to say 3,000 times the number of years will give us that annual salary increase because it's every year. But his starting salary, it starts at $41,250. So that's my equation. So if he stayed or was satisfactory 2 years, you would just plug that in for X. Right, for number 2, we are given information in a different kind of way. So the first thing it says is there's a registration fee of $25. That's important. After that, you pay $85 for 6 classes. Write an equation to represent the total cost for n classes. The only issue here is we don't know how much it costs per class. We know that the total cost is C. So if we have C equals, we know the total cost for 6 classes is 85, so I'm just going to write it underneath. The registration fee, no matter what, you always pay $25, so I'm going to include that in both. Now is where it gets a little tricky because we don't know how much each class costs, but we do know that n is the number of classes, and I'm going to use the little baby c for the cost of each class. So if we have 6 classes, we can plug that in for n, which it tells us, and this second equation is something that we can solve. So let's go ahead and solve it. We're going to subtract 25 from each side. So we get 60 equals 6c, divide both sides by 6. We get c is equal to 10. So what that tells us is it's $10 per class. So now we're going to take that and plug it back into the equation up here. And we're going to write a better equation that gives us more info. So the total cost is going to be $25 plus 10 times the number of classes. So that's the first part of our question. The second part, it tells us to find the cost for 12 classes. Because n represents the number of classes, we're going to plug in 12 for n. 25 plus 10 times 12, which is 25 plus 10 times 12, which is 120. So our cost is going to be 145. So again, make sure you read the question because that question had 2 different answers. All right, the next one is even more trickier. The cost for 8 gymnastics lessons is $94. The cost for 12 gymnastics lessons is $138. Write a linear equation to find the total cost C for L lessons. So the first thing we need to do is see if it's just the number of lessons times the cost of each lesson. So let's see, 8 times the cost equals 94. 94 divided by 8 is 11.75. Over here, the cost for 12 lessons is $138. So let's see if that's 12 times the cost. 138 divided by 12 is, 11.5. So we know we can't use slope to write an equation because there is some fixed cost. Like in the above question, we had a fixed rate of $25 for just the registration. We're going to run into that similar thing here. So I'm going to get rid of that and let's write it out. So if the total cost C is equal to the fixed rate plus number of classes, L is the lessons, times the price of each lesson. So let's fill in the information. We have $94 is equal to that fixed rate plus number of lessons is 8 times the price of each lesson. Let's write a second equation for that second piece of information. It costs $138 for that same fixed rate plus 12 lessons times that price per lesson, so 12 times P. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky, but we can still do it. We need to manipulate one of the equations in order to substitute a value. So I'm going to use this equation here. If I subtract 12p from both sides, I get f by itself. I get f is equal to 138 minus 12p. I can literally take that because it's equal to f and plug it back into the first equation so that I now only have one variable. So I'm going to do that on the left side here. I have 94 is equal to 138 minus 12p. So again, all I did was plug that in for f because they were equal. And then I have to add 8p to that. So when I subtract, equals 138 minus 4p. And then I get negative 44 equals negative 4p. So when I get that, I get P is equal to 11. So remember that's $11 a class, or $11 a lesson. We still need to figure out what F is equal to. So what we do with that is we take that 11 and we're going to plug it in for P. So F is equal to 138 minus 12 times 11. And that's going to give us 6. So the registration fee is 6. So our final equation is C equals 6 plus 11 times the number of lessons. Then they ask you to use the equation to find the cost of 5 lessons. We're just going to plug in 5 for L. 6 plus 11 times 5 equals $31. Oh, sorry, I did that wrong. $61. Alright, this is the end of video 1. Check for video 2.